into it like a detonator. The rough-faced man looked round for an escape route. They had been marched into the cryogenics chamber through a doorway beside the equipment controls. But even if he could get past the guard, who was now turning her gun on him, he would encounter more guards down the passageway, drawn by the sound of weapons firing. As the guard pulled her gun up into a firing position, the man spun round and took the only alternative, a bulkhead doorway marked Restricted Zone. He hauled on the door as the guard's first shot exploded against the wall alongside. Sheer terror gave him a strength he had never known before. He felt the guard's second shot graze his shoulder, and burning metal sparks from the door showered his face. The guard's third shot came too late and exploded into an empty doorway through which the rough-faced man had escaped barely a moment earlier. The guard turned to Krakauer for orders. Krakauer smiled. "Leave him. He's in the restricted zone. He's a dead man." Whatever the crewman might have expected to find through the door to the restricted zone, he was completely unprepared for the chill gloom he now found himself in. Huge, shadowy walls of ice intersected at right angles, turning the huge chamber into a confusing maze. Ice boulders lay at the foot of the walls, and the crewman had to pick his way carefully. As in the cryogenics chamber, vats of supercooled gases overflowed with a silent mist. Far away, he heard a thundering echo that sounded like icebergs shearing away from one another. Except there was no sea here on the planet Svartos. Closer by, he heard the shimmering tinkle of icicles, and faintly, but insistently, there was a tapping sound. The crewman moved nervously among the boulders of ice and the mist-shrouded vats. As he picked his way through the ice and moved deeper into the restricted zone, the tapping sound grew louder. He followed the sound. As he grew closer to the source of the sound, the restricted zone seemed lighter, allowing the man to make out detail in the shadows of the ice walls. He edged nervously towards the light and the strange tapping sound, which seemed to be coming from behind an ice wall in front of him. He readied his gun, tensed himself, and suddenly threw himself round the corner into the light, with his gun levelled at the source of the sound, whatever or whoever it might be. His eyes opened wide in amazement. He saw a brightly lit clearing amongst the ice walls and boulders. In the middle of the clearing stood a huge rectangular block of clear ice. Beside it, a man wearing a sculptor's smock was chipping at the ice with a hammer and chisel. The sculptor stopped and turned to look at the gun pointing at him. He seemed more puzzled than frightened. The crewman was startled and confused by the sculptor with his block of ice. He suspected some kind of trap and wheeled round with his gun in case someone should creep up behind him. But there was no one there. Just a large horizontal cabinet standing empty nearby, looking like a coffin with a clear lid. The crewman wheeled back towards the sculptor. As he did so, he slipped on the ice and fell sideways. The gun fell from his hand and tumbled into one of the vats of supercooled gases. He tried to grab at it as it bounced on the rim of the vat, but he was too late. He saw it disappear into the frozen mist. Carefully, he tried to reach into the freezing gas to retrieve the weapon. He reached into the cold mist, but as his hand came within a few centimetres of the liquid gas, he felt the biting cold eat into his flesh like acid. Instinctively, he pulled his arm away. He tried again, thinking of the gun that might save his life, but again the pain was too much. He crouched over the vat, nerving himself for another attempt. Suddenly, another arm plunged deep into the vat of agonizing cold. The crewman watched in horror as the stranger's arm pulled the gun out of the liquid gas. The flesh of the stranger's hand was now caked in hard, dry frost. The crewman looked up. The stranger was dressed in the same clinical white uniform of the Iceworld guards, but where the others bore an official name patch on the chest of their uniform, the strangers said simply, "Kane." The crewman looked up at Kane's face. It was deathly pale.